It was supposed to be just another weekend. Samantha Miller, 17 and fiercely independent, had begged her parents to let her stay home alone while they went on a short anniversary trip to the mountains. Her little brother, Josh, would be with their grandparents, so it was her first real taste of total freedom. Her parents hesitated at first, but she was a responsible teen, honor roll student, and rarely gave them trouble. After some convincing and a long list of safety rules, they agreed. Samantha felt triumphant. She spent the first day lounging around the house in oversized sweatpants, ordering pizza, and binge-watching horror movies, the kind her parents never let her watch. It was perfect. She even joked to herself that watching scary movies alone was like training for the real thing. The house was quiet, too quiet sometimes, but she chalked it up to her imagination. When you live in a quiet suburb like theirs in Oak Ridge, Pennsylvania, even the hum of the fridge can sound suspicious in the dead of night. That first evening passed uneventfully, aside from a flickering porch light that had been acting up for weeks. She ignored it. Around midnight, Samantha turned off the television and climbed the stairs to her bedroom. She double-checked the locks on the doors and windows before heading up. Everything seemed secure. As she settled into bed, her phone buzzed with a text from her friend Nicole. It read, "You better not be getting murdered while watching those horror flicks alone." Samantha rolled her eyes and replied with a laughing emoji and a selfie of her under a blanket, clearly not impressed. Sometime during the night, she awoke to a soft tapping sound. It was faint, repetitive. At first, she thought it might be a tree branch brushing against the window. But her window was on the second floor, and there were no trees close enough for that. She froze, holding her breath. The tapping stopped. She turned on her bedside lamp and sat up, ears straining. Nothing. She slowly got out of bed and peered out the window. The backyard was still. Her heart thudded, but she told herself it was probably just some random creak or maybe a bird. She eventually drifted back to sleep. The next morning was gray and overcast. Samantha made herself some scrambled eggs and sat on the back porch, checking social media. Nothing unusual. But as she turned to head back inside, she noticed something odd in the flower bed beneath the living room window. Footprints. Not from shoes but bare feet. At first she thought maybe she was imagining it. She leaned closer. The prints were fresh, clearly defined in the damp soil. Her stomach twisted. She hadn't gone outside barefoot, and she hadn't seen anyone else around. She took a photo and sent it to Nicole. Nicole responded quickly. That's creepy. Are you sure someone didn't prank you?" Samantha tried to laugh it off but couldn't shake the feeling. She stayed inside for most of the day, keeping the doors locked. That night, she locked herself in her room earlier than usual and placed her baseball bat next to her bed, just in case. She didn't tell her parents, they'd just cut the trip short. At around 2 a.m., the tapping returned. This time louder. More urgent. It wasn't at the window. It was at the front door. Samantha bolted upright, heart racing. She grabbed her phone and tiptoed to the top of the stairs. The house was silent. Another knock echoed, this time slower. She peered over the banister toward the front door, but the porch light was off again. She flicked on the downstairs light. Nothing. No shadows. No movement. She summoned the courage to creep down the stairs and look through the peephole. No one. But the doormat was out of place, like it had been kicked or dragged. Terrified, she called Nicole on video chat. Nicole answered groggily. Samantha whispered what had just happened, and Nicole begged her to call the police. But Samantha felt conflicted. What would she tell them? That someone knocked and left? Would they even take her seriously? She stayed up the rest of the night with every light on. The next morning she noticed something else. A small scratch on the inside of the back door, like a key or knife had scraped along the lock. Her skin crawled. This wasn't paranoia. Someone had tried to get in. She finally called the local police. Officer Tom Reynolds, a friendly middle-aged man, came by to take a look. He noted the footprints and the scratch marks and said there had been a few complaints recently about a man going around knocking on doors late at night, sometimes disappearing before anyone could confront him. Probably a local creep. "But you did the right thing calling us," he said. He promised to have a cruiser do occasional drive-bys and advised her to stay inside and keep everything locked. Samantha thanked him, but the sense of dread lingered. That night, she went to bed earlier than usual, still shaken. At around 3 a.m., her phone buzzed. No one ever texted her this late. The message was from an unknown number. It said, "Are you awake?" She stared at the screen in disbelief. Her fingers trembled as she typed back, "Who is this?" There was no reply. 10 minutes later, another message came through. "Nice pajamas." Her blood turned cold. She was wearing a blue tank top and shorts, the same ones she wore when she stepped out on the back porch earlier in the evening. Her mind raced. Someone was watching her. She turned off all the lights, heart pounding, and crawled under her bed. She called 911 immediately. The dispatcher kept her calm and told her to stay on the line. Within minutes, flashing red and blue lights lit up the windows. Officers cleared the property but found no one. However, they did find a set of muddy footprints leading from the woods behind her house to her bedroom window, the same window with the faint tapping from before. That was enough for her. Samantha called her parents, who immediately ended their trip and came home that morning. She didn't stay alone again for a long time. A few days later, the police arrested a man in the next neighborhood. He had a long record of stalking and trespassing. They couldn't prove he was the one who texted Samantha, but he had a phone filled with photos of houses, including hers. The mystery of the messages was never solved. Years passed, and Samantha eventually left Oak Ridge for college in California. But the memory of that weekend stayed with her. Sometimes when she was walking home late from class or staying alone in her apartment, she'd hear a soft tapping. Maybe the wind, maybe her imagination. She'd pause, heart skipping, and check every window just in case. Back in Oak Ridge, another family moved into the Miller home. A mother, father, and their son, Caleb, who was around Samantha's age. Caleb didn't know the house's history, not until his dog began barking uncontrollably at the backyard fence one night. His parents dismissed it as a raccoon. But Caleb started noticing little things. The porch light flickering even though it was brand new. The front doormat slightly moved every morning. Then one evening, as he played video games alone, he got a message from an unknown number. "Are you awake?" He stared at the screen, a chill running down his spine.